Hello, everyone, and I want to say thank you for joining us on this interview series. I know I've talked or I've hinted a lot around the program that we're bringing to the world in 2022, and so I thought it was really important because a lot of you know me, but nobody knows my coaches, or not my coaches, but the coaches, the guest experts that we're having in the program. And so I was like, no better way than to introduce everyone through an interview series so that you can get to know the people who are going to be pouring and loving on the community that we are creating for Brilliant Brain Training. So this is Nattalee, and she's actually not a guest expert in a sense where she's bringing just a piece a piece of her business into this program. She's actually bringing in a massive piece of her business. So there's an education piece about human design because she is a human design expert analyst. She's an OG of human design, meaning she has been doing it for 23 years. She's one of the original people to learn about this program and discover it under the creator, Ra. And so I want you to I want to thank you, Nattalee, for being here. I'm so excited for people to get to know you. And I know that human design was a missing piece of the transformation of my journey. And so I'm going to tell everyone a little bit about how that happened to be. But first, I want you to tell us a little bit about your business, who you serve, and really why you love this work.
Well, thank you. And hello, everyone. My professional career began in the coaching industry a little over 30 years ago. And so learning about typology and how to motivate people and how to identify where the gaps are and how to bridge those gaps, it's just a world that it's like the swimming pool I've been swimming in for over 30 years. And along that journey, of my own self-discovery and helping other people move ahead and making positive changes in their life is when I discovered human design. And it just found me. It was just like, it was a very magical kind of experience meeting human design, that it was just like my calling.
Right.
And it totally transformed my life. And then I went, oh my gosh, this is just such a great way to help people really individualize, because in the coaching world, everybody, there's a formula that people follow, and they ask a bunch of questions when they get a new client. And I still do that, but then it's like, oh, but here is this blueprint, if you will, of someone's strengths and abilities and talents that they may or may not be aware of. Mm-hmm. So that just kind of naturally folded into my coaching practice. And I've been coaching people using human design since 2005 or 2006. And it's just been incredibly rewarding for my clients. I'm really making positive changes and making them in a way that is absolutely unique to them. Yeah. So that's what I do.
I love it. And so I know who you work with, but who do you tend to serve and work best with, or who works best with you in that sort of sense?
Yeah, I tend to work with people that might be leaving a career and creating something that's more authentic for them, or more in alignment, working their corporate job, or working highly educated and have this great career, but they know that that's not it. So that's one type that I serve. And the other is people that are coaches or already are healers or have a business, and it's just not quite to the point where they are satisfied with the kind of income that they have, or they're doing what they think is a lot of the right things, and they're still not getting the results. And so human design really can help answer a lot of the questions why they are not getting results. So those are the two main groups that I work with, in business, some business owners, of course.
Yeah. Okay, so I love that. And that actually so that reminds me, so this is how we got to know each other was you were getting your business design, or your align with your design sort of program that you've been working on in the background for a long time, because you've been doing this work with individuals for a while. So then it was kind of like, let's create a group container to do this work as a group and as a collective. And so you ended up getting referred to me to help with some copywriting and sales content and all that kind of stuff. And I thought it was so fortuitous, of course, the synchronicities of me having literally gone off the deep end and deep dive into human design, not knowing who you were at all at the beginning, before it happened. Just a few weeks, maybe like 12 days or something before that, I happened to be alone for a 3-day weekend. My husband took the kids, and I just remember being like diving into human design and just being like, what, how am I just learning about this? Like, this is everything. This is so inspiring and informational. And it was like, okay, this feels like a piece of me that I was like believing was maybe part of me, but I didn't really like know how to acknowledge it. How do I feel about this? And there was a permissive piece about human design that I really love, but it was like, okay, you could be free to be exactly yourself and get out of that resistance. And it's like, because that's just how you were made to be. And so I love that we ended up getting to work together, or I got to kind of get an insight a little bit of human design, that it applies to business, because I hadn't even crossed my mind on how to do that from a business perspective. And so, and then we really just connected, and I was like, I don't know what's in the future for us, but I feel like called to work with you. So I just want to say thank you for saying yes to that calling that I had, and honestly, to just have it have been a mutual connection. And you were like, no, there's something here for us. And so, so I love that. Now, I know that when I brought up the idea of creating like a foundational life coaching course, not course, but program, and building a big community, and I actually brought it to you before I brought it to everyone else, and you were like, this is amazing. I love this. Everyone wins. This is incredible. I'm curious. What was it about that idea that really resonated with you? Because I know why I wanted to create it, but when you're working with a bunch of individuals who have been building their own individual business, and then it's like, okay, how do we do something as a collective? Why did that appeal to you? And what is it about the program that you feel like is, what do people need to know about it, I guess is what I want to say.
Well, there was a couple of things that really just rang so true to me and that I responded to. One was that with our connection, it was like a hand in glove. And like we get almost like finish each other's sentences, and like your background and your upbringing is so different than mine, but yet we kind of, the way that we understood how people learn and grow and heal, it just fit together. And the human design piece just added to what you had already had written. So that just felt so so appealing to me, and just your way of articulating, and how you see people and how they heal was just, I mean, it just totally spoke to me. That was one piece. The other piece was your desire and your commitment to the community. And we kind of played off of each other on that as well. Like, yeah, that's a word people, throw out there a lot, is the community or your tribe or whatever. But your idea of making it a year-long program and really like giving people an opportunity to really drop into looking at themselves and supporting each other and being with these other coaches and all the different pieces that the coaches, they're each in their own expertise. It was just, it felt like this is something that people have been waiting for. They just didn't know it. To really have that full experience and to really make and take the time for themselves to close the gap on the things that they've been wanting and desiring and deserve.
Yeah.
And to have it be their reality.
Yes, I know it is closing the gap because it's like I think so far we've gotten so far with some personal development. We've been to some seminars, we've done some of this work, but what I know is that the pieces of the program that I'm bringing to the table got people through a bunch of it gets them through this piece of healing. And what I know is it cleans the slate. And so when I discovered human design, I was basically coming to it feeling like I had really cleaned my slate and I was ready for what was next because of the work that I do within my program was with the work I did with myself and with other clients. And then it was kind of like, oh, human design is now the piece that moves me forward. And when I discovered it, I remember being like, well, shit, now I have to figure out how to become a human design analyst because, and you're laughing because it's like you can't just decide to be an analyst and then understand human design in 36 days and be able to like coach people on it. But when I understood that this was a missing piece for me, I thought to myself, and you read on somewhere, become a human design specialist, take this course and you can, become a coach for it. And I thought, no, well, if I do that, I'm going to delay the launch of this program yet again, thinking I needed some extra, certification or whatever I thought I was going to go do. And I just remember being like, okay, this is self-sabotage, but it also, I'm like, I can't not do this because this piece is incredible. It has to be in the program. And so then the fact that we met and I talked to you about my program and I'm like, this piece is like, it's integral. I didn't know how much I needed it and I don't have time to learn it. Let's do it together. You were like, yes, yes, yes. So I just want you to know, like, our coming together and working together. It feels like it's part of a master plan that was set in motion long before we met. And so I just want to, I don't know, I just want people to understand that like people come into your life at just the right time for just the right reason. And when you're open to it and you're available to it, I think magic really happens. So
Now, I just want to add one piece on
yeah.
that, in our coming together, and you shared with about this program and so on. And I was like, yes, yes. And then we talk in a week or so after that. And then it was like these pieces just kept, being unfolding. And then we were both still a yes.
Yep.
So to really, I think it's important for people to hear, since we're talking about community and we're also now talking about collaboration, like without having to know the answer at the very beginning. It's like, well, let's just walk together for a while and see how this unfolds in each step along the way. And just, magical, yes, and very realistic and practical.
Right, right. Yeah, it feels magical to me because it's kind of like there was a part of what I wanted to create in a collaboration a long time ago, and I tried to, I don't know, force is the wrong word, but I like picked a bunch of people and I'm like, we should do this, and none of those people, not like zero, zero out of six or however many were like interested in the collaboration, and so I remember saying, I'm like, I'm going to put a pin in this idea and I'm going to set it aside for now, but I know that this is what I meant to do. And then when I realized, okay, the program's going to happen, and I knew that your piece was so instrumental to this design, and then I was like, okay, I think I'm ready to like, do I know enough people to bring in and do this group thing? And then I was like, oh, we got the parent coach, we have the emotional eating coach, we have the sexpert, we have the, simplifying and productivity coach, and we have the human design expert, and we have the shadow worker, and our village witch, if you will, and I was like, holy shit, all these people are already in my realm. And so anyway, so it felt very magical to me, which is part of the reason why I know that the community aspect is so important to me, is because I know what I've been able to create while being in an empowered community. And I know that the energy of a collective group that's moving towards the same goal, even if one individual client's goal or one woman's goal is different than another woman's goal, it's like we're all in this creating this machine of growth and fulfillment and transformation, quite honestly. So it's like when you're all in that energy, even if the end results look entirely different, the energy of the collective is just incredible. And so what do you think about, I'm like, I just sold it, but I'm like, tell me why you think being in an empowered community is just important.
I I think that women supporting women is the most powerful thing that we have on the planet right now. And the fact that you and I came together and the other coaches to hold the container for that to happen is very, very powerful. And I know that, you know, my greatest successes and my greatest joys in the past were in a group. And I, I, I can't remember if, you know, when, well, there was, yes, definitely. I'm remembering, you know, the time when it's just women, and that's what this program is for. And women coming together and supporting women is just so powerful. And we were talking about it and trying to put words into what we kind of know deep in our being about that kind of collaboration and community. And it's really hard to put it into words, just how powerful it is.
Yeah, it is. It's a feeling, and there's a sense of I don't know. I feel like there's always been previously maybe there's a tit for tat or one upping, or there's been a competitive edge in a lot of things. And what I have found is that when you're in these types of communities, none of that actually exists. Not only that, but I have great boundaries and barriers for people to not go down that path and to really open that space to coaching when there is that feeling of resistance coming up, to heal that wound. Because I think they call it the sisterhood wounds. And I didn't know that that was a thing until recently, but I definitely had experienced, you know, what felt like a wound from betrayals and all that kind of stuff. And so holding space for that and creating a container where what's available to her is available to me, and what's available to me is available to her. And to have that place of like, listen, we're tearing down walls, not and building each other up with that foundation. It's a different experience than a, you know, one for, you know, out for myself kind of thing. And so I had never experienced until being in a group program the power of motivation and empowerment of an encouraging, loving, supportive community that also is willing to like kick you in the ass when they see you doing your, you know, self-sabotage or going into victimization and that kind of thing. Like, that is calling out in love, not calling out in shame. And I had never experienced that before. And so I'm excited to create that. So,
Beautiful.
okay, so when we talked about bringing this community together, it was really, really important to me that each one of these guests, experts, and you as a secondary or main coach, you know, we're up there together, for everyone to have a specific masterclass that was really specific to what you do, who you serve, and how you support your people, and to bring this masterclass in. And so, because what I know is that when it comes to transformation, I call it the can of worms. It has a domino effect. It's like once you open this can of worms and you create transformation in one area of your life, it sort of becomes more obvious or painful in other areas of your life. And so I'm like, all right, we fix one thing. Then I wanted people to feel like they had access to an expert to help them create transformation in another area over the course of a year so that they are fully supported. And so your masterclass helps people who are entrepreneurs, business owners, successful, all the things, right?
Well, it could be freelancers or
right.
independent contractors. It could also be people that are ready to make the change and to create a business, and to create a business in a way that really works for them.
Yeah.
So the master class is a set of modules and recordings and handouts and PDFs and journaling prompts and, you know, the usual, to help you go deep within yourself. But what the teaching is about what gets in our way, looking at it from another perspective, both internally and externally, really looking at how we manage our time, manage our calendar, manage our energy, how we interact in relationships, and the ways that they work for us and the ways that they don't. And that all of those things need to be addressed from this perspective, as well as it interferes with our income.
Oh, yes.
You know, and it interferes with our creative being. Yeah. That when we are better at managing the energy, the time, relationships, and all of that. It's like, you know, the saying, you know, if you say yes to someone, sometimes we're saying no to ourselves. And so we have to be aware of when we are, that we hold our creative power at a very, very high priority. And in order for the creative power that creates the income, that creates the life, that brings in the connections, that all of that, that just happens when we're really taking care of our creative force.
Right.
So that's the main thing of what this program is for, and really getting a little bit of structure around us so that our creative force can have more flow and more freedom. And along with all of that, of course, there's some human design in there. Human design explaining, you know, what you want to look at in your chart, or there's certain segments where I'll be giving you the information and where it's at in your chart to help you get the most out of the program.
Okay, so I love that. And that is actually why what I really loved about your masterclass, and what I really love about human design, is that there's a unique process that I think is an individualistic plan. And what worked for other people just never really worked for me. And you were the first coach that I think really helped me to see that, yes, what has worked for other people will never work for you, because that's not how you were designed. And such a light bulb went off. And it was like, okay, so how do you implement that into your life? And then, you know, we talked about the experimenting, and it's like, oh, how do you implement that into the way that you're structuring your business? And then we talk about that piece, and the way I do it is different than the way you do it, which is different than the way most of my clients do it. And so really understanding the individualistic, and as your program is called the uncommon and aligned, it's like, it's not meant to be a cookie cutter blueprint that works for everyone. And so that's the piece I love the most, is that what you teach is there is a foundational aspect, but how you implement it and apply it is individual to the person. And you're there for that. You're there to give that feedback on what does that mean to the individual. And that's what the monthly coaching session that you have that's available is, on how to implement that masterclass and what they're learning into their life. So I love that piece. So anyway, I'm just going to wrap it up here, I think, and be mindful of people's time. So thank you so much for being here. What are your last thoughts? I mean, I think that there comes a point in time in which people do a certain amount of growth and development, and they're on their own journey. And then they know there's a decision to become invested in themselves in a new way, in a different way. And if somebody is thinking about working with a coach in 2022, what do you want to say to them about working with a group of coaches, like what we've got here, and holding space for a year? What are your final words for someone who's thinking about investing in themselves?
Yeah, well, I feel that when people are at that point where they're wanting to decide, it's like for them to be thinking about, you know, do they have a community or support in their life, that people understand who they are, get who they are, and that are also very engaged in making positive changes in their life.
That's
And,
key.
you know, that like-mindedness, like you pointed out earlier, that everybody may have a different goal, but they're going towards an objective and something, and whether it's in their relationship or in their career or just within their own healing process, and want to be around other people that are also very tuned into that and committed to that. And if they like, you know, since, you know, in our world, we don't get together that physically so much anymore. And so that opportunity to be able to connect with others online and in the group, and, you know, create other bonding relationships, and also just what you've put together, and really helping people and giving them a systemized way to really turn that story around, or, you know, the victimization or the procrastination or whatever has been holding people back. The way that your program is written, that really breaks it down, that people can learn how to do that for themselves and to be there for others, is just very, very powerful. And to have a human design expert for a whole year while you're developing yourself and all these other experts that we have that can really assist in the many facets of our life. It's life changing.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
I literally feel like anyone who comes in the program is hitting the jackpot. Like that's how I feel, is because all of the women who are pouring into the community are just so amazing at what they do, that I'm just kind of like, oh my gosh, if only I had had this, in who knows what year. Bless the people who are starting this in their 20s. Oh my gosh, I actually have had some young clients. Most of my clients are moms who, are moving into another realm, or business professionals who have like gotten really stuck and not feeling fulfilled with their career and want to make that change. But I'm just kind of like, this is what I think is important, is it's a generational shifts, and the way that we pour into ourselves, whether we have kids or not, whether you're a grandparent or not, it changes the way we can pour into others. And that's what creates the generational shifts and that generational healing that just makes the next season of families just completely different. I truly believe that. And I know that this program will change families. So
for sure.
whether it's your family or someone else's family, right? So thank you so much for being here. I'm excited. I'm glad you're coming along on this journey with me. And I know that everyone who gets to work with you will just be blown away at what you have to bring wisdom and explanation wise for human design. And I don't know, I feel like there's something else I wanted to say, but I'm just going to end it here without getting too carried away. Thank you, Nattalee. And anybody who has questions, you go to nicoleherring.com and you'll look up BBT, Brilliant Brain Training. It's a life coaching program. You can read more details there. And if you have any questions, you can email me. There's a link on my website. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. And we'll hopefully see you on the inside. We invite you to join us.